Hi everyone, welcome to Draftscapes. In today's episode, I'm going to review how to properly set up a drafting board, lay out your paper, and create a professional border with the title block for your illustrative plans. Stick around. One of the most important yet difficult tasks when starting landscape drafting is finding a suitable place to work. Many people don't have a dedicated studio space, so they'll need to make room on a kitchen table or an office desk at first. This is completely understandable. I remember when I first started out, I utilized my parents' kitchen table prior to receiving my own drafting space. Now, if you have a dedicated space or you can find an area large enough to lay out a standard 18 by 24 inch piece of paper, you should feel assured that you can start drafting like a pro in no time. However, if you do have a true dedication to the craft or you want to pursue this professionally as a landscape architect or landscape designer, it's well worth it to purchase a portable drafting table. I actually have had this one since 1998. It was a gift from my brother, and it's served me extremely well. I'll link up a couple tables as well as a couple drafting boards in the description below that I would recommend for those that really want to take their drafting to another level. But what you draw on is not nearly as important as where you draw. So one of the most important things you want to consider when placing where you're going to draw is the lighting. In order to draw plans accurately, you want to make sure that you have sufficient light quality so that you can really see what you're drawing as you go. Lighting's typically measured by foot candles, so you want to shoot to have your workspace that registers around 80 to 100 foot candles in luminosity. You can easily find a light measurement tool online, or you can actually download a variety of apps that do a similar thing. I'll link up in the description below, again, a really cheap light meter that you can purchase online. Now, once you have your intended workspace, something to draft on, the next thing is really setting up your board. So I'm going to throw the camera up in the air and let's take a look at how that works. Okay everyone, so we're all set, we're ready, and we're going to start laying out our paper and setting up our drafting board and border for our landscape plan. So a few things that we want to make sure that we have. First, obviously, is our lead holder and our sharpener. We want drafting dots or some sort of drafting adhesive or tape to affix our paper. We need a brush, a triangle, a 90-degree triangle, and then our paper, which I have off camera. So first thing I'm going to do is actually move most of this stuff off, and we want to just wipe down our actual table. We just want to make sure any sort of loose debris, mainly eraser shavings that we've had from previous drafted plans are off of our board. The last thing you want to do when you've worked so hard on a piece of paper or a drafting plan is to have your pencil just actually puncture through that piece of paper because there was a piece of loose debris underneath it. So just a quick wipe down, make sure there's no loose stuff, and now we're ready to set up our board. Okay, so now we take our paper. I'm just using a rather cheap piece of translucent bond, but you'd use anything that you actually have your drafting plan on, and you want to align the paper with your T-square or your parallel rule. Okay, so for the nice boards such as this is just a Blick drafting board, really nice machined edges here, but if you picked up a cheap board or you made one for yourself with scrap wood, it might not have really nice refined edges, which can actually falter or cause an issue when you line up your paper. So you want to make sure that your paper, if at all possible, is lined up with your rule or your T-square, not necessarily your board itself, because your board, although well-intentioned and well-purchased, might not actually be 90 degrees truly. So you want to make sure that the edge of your paper is lined up with your parallel rule or your T-square, not necessarily your board. So we'll make sure that it's nice and aligned with our parallel rule, and then we'll just use our drafting tape and we'll affix the edges so the corners don't move. Okay, we'll do that really quickly. And we'll do that top and bottom. So we want to do that on all four corners. Okay, let me get my last drafting dot here. Okay, so it's nicely affixed. I can move my drafting dots aside. Okay, so now I'm ready to start drawing my border. So I'm going to come around and I'm going to measure out with my scale. I'm just using my engineer scale, but you can use any sort of ruler that you want. And I want to measure a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch all around. Okay, I want to measure that from corner to corner. And I'm going to do a 1/2 inch just so we have a nice thick border for the screen. So I'm going to measure it from each edge, a 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to make a little dot. Okay. That was actually pretty perfect. Do it on the other side. Okay, so now I know that that was actually pretty perfect too. So I got it completely right. And I'm going to do it on the bottom as well. You can't really see that on camera, but I'm doing that on the bottom too. 1/2 inch here. Okay, and another on the bottom, 1/2 inch. Okay, so all 4 corners are marked. Okay, now I'm going to start drawing my actual border. So I'm going to come to the top and move my T-square to those dots. And I have my pencil nice and sharp already, my lead holder with my sharpener. And again, as we remember from our mechanics of drafting, body mechanics, we start from across our body and we pull the line. So we're going to start at the far edge. So I'm lefty, so I'm going to start at this edge. And I'm going to pull my line across. Okay? So now I have that border, okay, which hopefully you can see nicely on the screen. Okay, so I have my top border completely drawn. So now I'll do the same thing for the bottom border. Bring my ruler down and draw my bottom border. And then I need to draw my vertical borders, okay, my vertical edges. So I'm going to draw with my triangle, okay. The last thing you want to do, I'm just going to grab, if I can, really quickly, my T-square. So if I have a T-square, if I'm using a T-square like this, okay, and I have this on my board, I never, once the paper is lined up with this T-square, I never want to move this T-square away from its position because it's truly aligned with this paper. The last thing I want to do is take it up and move it vertically like this. So when you make vertical lines, you don't want to do this. Okay, you want to keep it like this and then use your triangle as your vertical alignment. So we're going to take our triangle and we're going to move it into the position. Okay, and then again, I'm going to draw my line by pulling it and move into this position. Okay, so now I have my borders. Okay, I'm going to move my board down. I can continue doing the same thing. Go all the way down. Same thing on the other side. Okay, all right, and then I do that for both sides. So now I have my perfect 4 borders of my drafting board. So now I need a title block. So title blocks usually only happen on the right-hand side or the bottom of your drafting board. And they typically are sized at 2 inches. Okay, that's a common title block size. So for our purposes, for the video, because we really can't see the bottom part of my board, I'm going to put my title block on this side. So the same thing as we did before, I'm going to simply come around and I'm going to measure 2 inches. Top and bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to take my triangle now. And I'm going to draw that at 2 inches. Okay, so now I have the border for my title block. Now the title blocks on this side, it'll have information such as a north arrow, the property address, your company name and logo, any sort of revision dates, etc. And this is done using just proper drafting lettering that we went over in the lettering video before. So Pretty simple with the tools provided, how you can get a easy drafting board set up professionally with a nice border and set title block for your purposes. Okay everyone, so that's actually all it takes to set up a nice drafting board. You have your board set up, it's aligned truly with your parallel rule or T-square. We have our 4 borders, our title block, and we're ready to start drafting. Okay, so again, if you want to see useful content like this, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and otherwise I'll see you at the next video.